welcome to today's series on Exegetical, wherein we explore original biblical languages to understanding the Bible text. Today, on this series, we'll be looking at Genesis 32:24 to 30, and that is a story of Jacob, very familiar story. We are looking at the story uh, in the context of Jacob's struggle against an angel. Particularly, we'll be looking at verse 29 and looking at these two words, Sarah, and here we have Sarita, and here Israel. That is what we have as Israel. The text here made us to understand, the real context made us to understand that the fight between Jacob and the angel wasn't a contention of a counterpart. That is, not, it wasn't a contention of an equal, two parts. It wasn't so. It is rather that Jacob was having a struggle grappling with an angel, not allowing him to go unless he blesses him. And that's because the angels realized that if he didn't have overpower Jacob, Jacob would not allow him to go. And even after he had uh, punctured Jacob's hip, Jacob was still holding on. That's to tell us in this context the reason why Jacob says that he had struggled. That look at this word, Sarita means that you have struggled with God, with him and Hashim, and with men. You have struggled with God and with men, and wa to call, meaning and you prevail. That is in English, but actually this to be understood as and you persevere. You have had struggle with men, with God, and with men. You have strength, or you have persevered. You have tried. That was an evaluation of Jacob's struggle over the years with Laban, where he was coming from, and even his brother. So Jacob had tried and his own strength. That's an encouragement or a kind of scoring to his strength in respect to being dogged. So here Jacob is being applauded for being dogged, for being enduring with men in a struggle with men. And the angel is saying, although you have done that, Sarita, your name still needs to change from Yaakov, that is somebody who does things on his own way. To ensure that he succeeds, a smart person, trying to outsmart others. That's what the meaning of this word Yaakov. All right. Here, the angel is now saying that your name needs to change from Yaakov to Israel, and very importantly, this is not to be seen as a prince with God, rather because Sarah here is still about this verb Sarah. You can see Sarah here. Sarah means to persist, to exert oneself, to struggle. To have, if it is about counterpart, to have a fight. But in this context, it wasn't that Jacob was throwing punches against the angel, rather, he was holding on to him and asking that he must be blessed. If not, he wouldn't allow the angel to go. So it was a struggle, grappling the angel not to go. So the angel is saying, you have done, you have tried in your struggle, but let God, because this is a verb, this Yisra before this Ale, it's a verb form of this Sarah, right? It is not Sarah, and in time of Sarah's name, that's the wife of Abraham, but Sarah in time of struggle, and that's the same thing we have here. The verb form and an imperfect form of this one. This is the perfect form in a Hebrew verb, and this is an imperfect form, which here means let him fight. And who is the one fighting in this contest? Is God. So the angel is saying you have tried in having your struggle against men, but this time around, let God fight for you. And that's, by implication, is teaching us something very important as we go into this year, that if you want God to help you, if you want to see the intervention of God in your, in your endeavor, in your pursuit this year, you will have to allow God to fight for you. You will have to allow God to prevail for you. You have to allow God to do the battle for you. The reason is because you have tried in your struggle over the years. You have tried, you have persevered, you have shown that you are dogged, but your doggedness will achieve little in respect to fulfilling destiny. You can see that even before this test, some verses up here, you realize that Jacob was actually afraid of meeting his brother Esau. So that will tell us that it wasn't that he has prevailed totally against men, but that he has tried in his struggle. He was coming from Laban, whom he actually ran away from, and God had to like intervene to help him. In his struggle with Laban, he had no equal strength compared to uh, he had no strength compared to Laban. God had to intervene. So that's what God was telling Jacob here, that if I don't come into this sin and help you on this stage, you will not fulfill destiny. You have tried in your strength, you have done well, but for you to progress further and getting into the fulfillment of the destiny upon your life, you need much more than smartness. You need much more than doggedness. You need God to fight for you. And that shows up, that is very reflective in the fact that the angel had to puncture its socket, the hip of, the socket of his hip to let him, because that shows the strongest muscle, that's the strongest muscle in one's body. So the angel punctured it to say that you will no longer rely on your strength, you will now rely on God. And the Bible tells us that since then Jacob had been working on a support. He had to use a staff to support himself while working, reminding him of his dependency on God. So as you go on this year, remember that your doggedness will not be enough. You need God to fight for you. God bless you. See you next time on this series.